DAP Secretary General Anthony Loke spoke on the party's 6-month reform deadline today. He also stressed that DAP will not let this government fall until the next general election. Meanwhile, Sanusi has responded to the feedlot project case involving a PNMP. Stay tuned for this and more on KiniNews. DAP will be reassessing its role in the government if Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim fails to deliver meaningful reforms within the next 6 months. This is according to DAP's Secretary General Anthony Loke. However, he stressed that this does not mean DAP, which holds the largest number of federal seats in the government, would withdraw its support for the Madani administration and risk triggering political turmoil. While Loke did not specify, the reassessment could include DAP pulling out of the cabinet and moving to the government backbench. In an interview with Chinese-language YouTube channel The Keywords, Loke said that he had made it clear that DAP will not let this government fall until the next general election. He added that he is not saying all problems can be solved in 6 months, but we must see some changes, enough for voters to feel this government still has hope and public perception must be improved. He said if perception cannot be changed, then after 6 months, DAP must make a decisive decision. However, he added that the decision does not mean they intend to let the government fall. Loke said that they had already informed the Prime Minister that they would not withdraw their support for him, at least until the next general election. The remarks from Loke came following DAP's defeat in the Sabah state polls on November 29th, where all 8 of the party's candidates were wiped out. In response, the party's central leadership convened an emergency meeting, vowing to accelerate reforms to regain public confidence after critics accused the once vocal opposition party of losing its voice upon gaining federal power. Kedah Menteri Besar Sanusi has denied involvement with a feedlot project linked to a corruption charge against Padang Serai MP Azman Nasrudin. According to the News Straits Times, Sanusi said that the matter was before his time. He said it was before 2020 and not know the details and doesn't know anything. He added that he had only read about it in the newspapers. He added that the project is no longer ongoing after Kedah Agro Holding Berhad was dissolved and subsequently privatized. He stated that they had implemented a voluntary separation scheme at the time and ceased operations before the company was taken over by a private entity. Sanusi took office as the Kedah Menteri Besar in May 2020, following his predecessor Mukris Mahathir's resignation. He also echoed Azman's claim that the persecution was politically motivated, asserting that there is something strange at hand. He said those who gave bribes were different people, those who received benefits were different, and the one who was charged was someone else. Azman had claimed trial to the charges yesterday. His lawyer, N. Surendran, also said the politician's legal team believes the charge against their client is defective, contrary to the law and against court proceedings. From now on, you can also listen to KiniNews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Scan the QR code on the screen to follow us. Former Minister Rafizi Ramli has clarified that he had raised several concerns internally during his time in the cabinet. He described it as the proper course of action. He said this in response to senior lawyer Hanif Khatri Abdullah, who had criticized him for waiting 7 months to raise his allegation that the MECC had interfered in the PKR polls instead of lodging a report at the time.
Adab di dalam sesebuah organisasi, hatta di dalam keluarga pun, kita suarakan perkara itu secara dalaman terlebih dahulu untuk diambil tindakan oleh mereka yang berkuasa. Sama seperti pandangan mengenai SPRM, tingkah laku setiausaha politik PM, mengenai Farhaj. Adabnya saya perlu suarakan terus kepada Perdana Menteri terlebih dahulu kerana kuasa itu ada pada beliau. Saya bersangka baik dan mahukan beliau buat perubahan. Selalunya beliau nyatakan beliau akan teliti dan akan ambil tindakan. Apabila semua ruang itu telah digunakan sepenuhnya dan saya rasa masih ada perkara yang perlu disuarakan, saya terus bersuara seperti sekarang, lebih-lebih lagi apabila saya tidak lagi terikat dengan peraturan Jemaah Menteri.
He claimed that had he publicly raised his allegation of MECC targeting PKR candidates linked to him, the authorities would have dismissed it since he was contesting at the time. Rafizi also reiterated that the best way to safeguard the MECC's reputation is to replace Chief Commissioner Azam Baki and for the Prime Minister to refrain from renewing his contract. Yesterday, the MECC denied Rafizi's allegation that its officers had surrounded the home of a PKR candidate. It clarified that investigating officers had gone to the residence to meet the individual and conduct a search to obtain evidence according to procedures. An MACC investigation into a candidate who contested in May's PKR election found no evidence that the individual received bribes from any contractor or other party. According to Bernama, an MACC source said the investigation found that all funds used by the individual to purchase assets came from personal savings, business proceeds, and company sales. The source said an asset review found that the person owns several medium-cost houses and several vehicles, all bought through legitimate bank loans. Claims that the individual owns an extravagant house in Port Dickson were also found to be inaccurate. The source said that the house was an asset of the local authority that went through the standard disposal process, and the purchase was made at 55,000 ringgit. Several other council members were also reported to have purchased houses at the same rate, and checks found that they followed proper procedures. They had also run several businesses before entering politics, which have since been sold. The individual had been previously called in to give a statement over allegations of bribery while serving as a council member at a local authority in the Klang Valley. Yesterday, the MACC had denied claims that it was used to investigate contestants in the PKR election last May. If you like the stories we produce, consider supporting us by subscribing to Malaysia Kini. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen to subscribe. The Election Commission confirmed today that it has received official vacancy notifications for the Kinabatangan Parliamentary and Lamag state seats in Sabah. This came following the passing of incumbent Representative Bung Mokhtar Radin. EC Secretary Khairul Shahril Idrus confirmed receiving notifications from Dewan Rakyat Speaker Johari Abdul and Sabah Legislative Assembly Speaker Kadzim Yahya. He said in line with Article 54(1) of the Federal Constitution and Article 21(5) of the Sabah Constitution, the vacancies must be filled within 50 days of confirmation of vacancy. He added that as such, the EC will have a special meeting on December 16th, chaired by Chairperson Ramlan Harun, to decide on when to hold the by-elections, nomination days, and other preparations to conduct the polls. Khairul said a press conference would be called after the meeting. Bung, who was also the Sababian chief, died at the Gleneagles Hospital in Kota Kinabalu on December 5th at the age of 66. Two indigenous leaders from British Columbia, Canada traveled across the Pacific Ocean to the iconic Petronas Twin Towers in Kuala Lumpur. The leaders were in KL to hand-deliver a complaint to the National Oil Company. They said this was because their attempts to raise concerns over a liquefied natural gas terminal linked to Petronas were ignored. Nat Mox, also known as John Ridsdale, one of the leaders, said if they won't come to us, it is time for us to come to them. Ridsdale had delivered the complaints on their arrival at the Tower 2 lobby on December 2nd. Ridsdale brought 4 copies of a folder outlining alleged human rights, environmental and financial risks arising from Petronas' 25% stake in LNG Canada, a project to export LNG via the 670-kilometer coastal gas link pipeline. The complaint cites letters from the 7 UN Special Rapporteurs written directly to Petronas and over 5 dozen enforcement actions against the pipeline. He added that the documents were important because they felt Petronas does not have the full information it needs about the true environmental, human rights, and financial risks surrounding LNG Canada. Petronas holds its stake in LNG Canada through its wholly owned subsidiary, North Montney LNG Limited Partnership, according to information from the LNG Canada website and the tribal leaders' complaints. Yesterday, senior lawyer Hanif Kachri Abdullah took former Minister Rafizi Ramli to task for not lodging a report with the MACC when Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim allegedly used the anti-graft agency to influence the PKR polls in May. He stressed that Rafizi should have done the right thing at the time instead of raising the matter 7 months later. We posted a poll on this to find out what you thought of Hanif's reprimand over Rafizi's lack of action, and here are the results. 66% of voters believe that if the allegations were true, Rafizi should have filed a report immediately. 20% of voters think that it is important to disclose any possible misconduct. 12% think that it is internal political conflict that distracts from real issues. What are your thoughts on Hanif's remarks? Share your views in the comments below. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to kinitv.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.